Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtada Khan, your host, and today I want to give you a commentary on Mamdani's victory. I want to talk about 5 important takeaways from Mamdani's win in New York, and I think these takeaways are critical because they give you some insight into American economy as well as American politics. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the crisis of affordability in the United States. And this is becoming an issue not just in major cities and urban areas where the cost of housing is going through the roof. The cost of groceries is also up in spite of Donald Trump's claims. The prices of nearly everything is going up, and cost of education. So for middle class people even in a city like New York, people who are making $100,000, life has become a bit difficult. People are living paycheck to paycheck. Making ends meet has become very difficult. People have to choose what to sacrifice. And add to that the cost of healthcare in this country, the cost of education, the cost of healthcare, the cost of housing, and the inflation that is also raising the cost of food supplies. All of this are showing that there is a crisis of affordability, and not just in the city of like New York, but all across the country. And Mamdani's victory highlights that, in spite of all the identity and religion and class and caste and all of this xenophobic accusations that were made about against him, he stuck and remained focused on his message to fight affordability, to bring affordability to New York. And that was his issue. And I think that a large number of New Yorkers were willing to overlook his lack of experience, were willing to overlook the fact that he's very young, and also the fact that there are lots and lots of powerful forces aligned against him. In spite of all of that, his promise of making a New York worth living in and affordable is an important promise. And so they, I think, primarily voted for him on that ground. So that's the big takeaway, that the bread and butter issues have suddenly become very important for Americans, because the American dream has become far more distant for a lot of people. Routinely, people say that the next generation of Americans, 80% of them will not live as well as the current generation of Americans. So even though the per capita income is now reaching $100,000, the quality of life is not reflected in that at that level. So everything that is important in terms of social services, education, security, healthcare, all of that is suffering. And so the biggest takeaway, I think, from Mamdani's election is that people are worried about the quality of life. And therefore, Mamdani won because he focused on quality of life, while others were more interested in wars far away or advancing the interest of a foreign country. So that is the number one takeaway from Mamdani's victory. The second one for me personally is the fact that he blew away Islamophobia. In the past few days, the rhetoric against the hateful rhetoric against him, very nasty people from Donald Trump onwards to others, showed the evil and the nastiness that is there in their hearts by coming out and using horrible terms like jihadi, radical Muslim, suggesting that if there was another, and this is Andrew Cuomo sort of agreeing with or suggesting that if there was another 9/11, God forbid, in New York City, Mamdani would be cheering the terrorists. So they're accusing him of being a terrorist. Donald Trump, in his tweet, suggested that he's a proven Jew hater. And he said that Jews who vote for Mamdani are stupid. Well, most Americans today feel stupid because they voted for him. His approval ratings of Donald Trump is at minus 15. 55% of Americans disapprove the way he's leading this country, and only little less than 40% approve of how he's doing his job. So the fact that there is anti-immigration sentiment, which is very strong in the US. The MAGA crowd is also generating animosity towards legal migrants, people who are citizens of this country but were born in a foreign country. So there's an element of racism and an element of xenophobia. And in spite of all of that, Mamdani was able to put together a coalition in which there were Muslims and Jews. He was able to put a coalition in which there were Hispanics, whites, as well as African Americans and South Asians and people from nearly every background. New York City is an extremely diverse city with nearly 50% of the population being foreign born. And so the second takeaway is that if your agenda, if your political agenda is something that really cares about people's needs, then identity politics can be defeated. So the second thing that he has achieved, in my opinion, is that he has defeated culture-based hatred, and he has defeated hate mongers. Even from India, Hindu nationalists were also campaigning against him from far away, and even here in New York and the United States. And he also defeated the hate mongering of Modi supporters from India. He defeated essentially people who were trying to portray him as a threat to Israel and Israeli security, as someone who would increase anti-Semitism. So that's the second big takeaway, that Mamdani's victory suggests that hate can be defeated by politics, which essentially looks at what people need first. The third takeaway is obviously not just limited to the city of New York. It is about the sweep of Democrats. So Democrats won nearly everything that they contested in yesterday. The Democrats won the mayoral seat of New York, but they also won the mayoral seat in Cincinnati, in Pittsburgh. They won the governor's races in New Jersey and in Virginia. In Virginia, you had for the first time a woman who is going to be a governor, and the lieutenant governor is also a Muslim woman from Hyderabad, India, my hometown. And so that was interesting. And more importantly, California, the Prop 50 was also approved resoundingly, so that California can also now match Texas in gerrymandering. I don't like this whole idea because it undermines the legitimacy of the democratic and electoral processes. But still, from a party point of view, what happened in California is to the advantage of Democrats and to the detriment of Donald Trump. There isn't anything that the Republicans could say they won yesterday. They lost across the board, across the country. They lost in the North, in the South. They also lost in Mississippi, for example. They lost in the Midwest. And so what it tells you is that within just 1 year before the midterms, and in less than a year since Donald Trump became president, the public has turned against Donald Trump. If you treat this as a referendum on Donald Trump, then he clearly needs to revisit some of his policies, which, even though he calls them are as America first, Americans don't see them as America first at the moment. So my third takeaway is essentially that this was a democratic sweep. It was a referendum on Donald Trump, and it doesn't look good for Donald Trump at the moment. My fourth takeaway is the humbling of AIPAC. AIPAC is the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee. It is, I think, Public Affairs or Political Affairs Committee. It is basically the pro-Israeli lobby in this country, which spends hundreds of millions of dollars to ensure that not just pro-Israel people are elected in both parties, but anybody who challenges Israel or anybody who is critical of Israel's policies is defeated and silenced and cancelled, essentially. So it's a very aggressive lobby, which should actually be registered as a foreign agent, because it really serves the interest of the Israeli government and defends anything and everything that Israel does. And literally millions and millions of dollars were spent by that particular lobby. Some of the The pro-Israeli forces were billionaires who, like Bill Ackman, who spent literally millions of dollars in this campaign. About 26 billionaires apparently spent $22 million to try and defeat Mamdani. Overall, money that was spent against Mamdani. Mamdani spent close to $9 to $10 million in this campaign, and about $50+ million were spent against him in this campaign. And yet he was able to defeat billionaires, and he was also able to defeat one of the most powerful lobbies that even Donald Trump is afraid to challenge in this country. But what this particular victory of Mamdani has said is that now you can speak for Palestinian rights and you can be critical of Israel's genocidal policies without being cancelled in the American political sphere. So this is something which is a major, major victory for those who fight for the Palestinian rights in this country. And I think this is going to empower many other members of the US Congress, people who are running for office, to speak far more freely on this issue, to stand up for human rights, to stand up for democracy, to stand up for peace, to stand up for the two-state solution. And so this is another major takeaway that I think it's amazing that Mamdani has stood his ground on this particular issue. Every time he was asked whether he would arrest Netanyahu if he comes to New York, he said he would. He never minced his word in his criticism of what Israel was doing in Gaza, while also combating anti-Semitism and standing firmly against anti-Semitism, even though some people these days try to muddle things up by trying to say that any and all criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism, which is bullshit. There's no other way to describe that. No country should be above criticism for humanitarian or for crimes against humanity, and that's what Israel has committed by killing thousands and thousands of civilians, women and children in Gaza, and brutally destroying the infrastructure of Gaza. So that is the fourth takeaway from Mamdani's victory in New York. And the final takeaway, the fifth takeaway that I have for you is that there are some dirty Democrats who remain exposed. Democrats like Chuck Schumer, the senator from New York, who is also the minority leader in the U.S. Senate. This awful guy did not endorse Mamdani, and until I was doing this recording, doing this show live, he had not even congratulated Mamdani, and he's from the same party. And apparently, Mamdani worked with Chuck Schumer to bring relief to the taxi drivers' crisis in New York a few years ago. So Chuck Schumer, people like Chuck Schumer, Christine Gillibrand, the other senator, they did neither endorse Mamdani nor did they congratulate them. Hakeem Jeffries, the congressman who is also the leader of the House minority leader in the U.S. House of Representatives. He did it in the last minute, but when he was asked the question, Mamdani is the future of the Democratic Party, his answer was a resounding no. Very reluctant in his support for Mamdani. And then the big guns did not speak up for Mamdani. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, who apparently had a private conversation, but neither did he endorse Mamdani, nor did he congratulate Mamdani. Kamala Harris did, when asked a question while promoting her book, she did kind of in a lukewarm way endorse him. She hasn't congratulated him until now at this moment. There are many other prominent Democratic leaders who have remained quiet on this. So I think these are what I call as the dirty Democrats. We need to get rid of them as quickly as possible. But he did get support from the progressive wing. Ro Khanna, supporter Bernie Sanders, obviously not only supported him, but campaigned for him in New York City. And of course, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, was also very supportive. And so in that sense, it is very clear that Mamdani was able to become the poster child for the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, but he has also exposed the pettiness and the nastiness of mainstream Democrats. And that's the reason why the approval rating of the Democrats in the country is so low. And in spite of everything, in spite of Donald Trump, if you overall look that on many issues, the Republicans are still doing well, even though Donald Trump's personal approval rating are a drag on the party. But it doesn't mean that people are generally enthusiastic about Donald Trump. I think a lot of the votes that you saw that were cast in all over the New York City's election was different from the rest. So I don't necessarily think that the votes were cast for Democrats. Many of these votes were also votes against Donald Trump. Whereas in New York City, because the Democrats as well as Republicans had combined to try and defeat Mamdani, Andrew Cuomo, who ran for the Democratic primary, then ran again with a lot of support from Democrats and the same billionaires who supported Donald Trump. There, Mamdani defeated both the Republican establishment and the Democratic establishment to win. So the vote for Mamdani was a vote for Mamdani, but the vote for Democrats elsewhere, in my opinion, were also votes against Donald Trump. So those are the five takeaways that I think are critical and important for this from this campaign, and so I hope that these points are, shall we say, thought-provoking. So thank you for watching Conversations, and if you have not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and press the bell icon. And if there are some interesting questions or comments, I'll be happy to address them. Or otherwise, I will see you when I see you. Thank you for watching. And not many serious questions. I'm from Hyderabad. Yes, Hyderabad, India. And yes, I speak Urdu. Take care, everybody. Bye. Thank you.